There is a major shift going on when you talk about the Chicago Bears, and today's episode of Keek on the Mic starts right now.
Cali the Shot-Town experience on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. First and foremost, Bears fans, happy Tuesday and happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. I thank you so much for your continued service and what you do to protect us in this country. So, Bears fans, we have a very important topic of discussion to talk about on today's episode of Keek on the Mic because there is a major shift going on in the National Football League when you're talking about the Chicago Bears. Prior to the start of the season, there was a lot of hype around the Chicago Bears just due to the fact of what Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears did during the offseason. You brought in Ben Johnson as the new head coach. You upgraded the offensive line with moves like with Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson, and Joe Thuney. It was Caleb Williams going into year two, Roma Dunze going into year two. And obviously, you brought in Dennis Allen as a new defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears defense. So obviously, prior to the season, there was a lot of hype around the Chicago Bears for various reasons. And, obviously Bears fans were very hyped. And of course, they start off the season 0-2. But since that 0-2 start, the Chicago Bears are now 5-1 since that 0-2 start and now sit at 6-3 and are currently sixth in the NFC playoff picture. And this is very rare territory for Chicago Bears and for Chicago Bears fans. And I feel like some of us don't even know how to act in this moment because we haven't been in playoff contention for a very long time. And of course, there's a lot of people out there, mostly the haters, saying, well, the Chicago Bears haven't played anyone. Their only quality win comes against probably the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. But how I look at it is that the Chicago Bears are still learning how to win. Even though there was a lot of hype around the Chicago Bears coming into the season, there was a lot of people that didn't have high expectations about the Chicago Bears around the National Football League. And a lot of people thought the Chicago Bears were only going to win 5 to 6 games total. So through 9 games or 10 weeks into the NFL season, the Chicago Bears are sitting at 6-3 and are currently sixth in the NFC playoff picture with 8 games left to go. So how I look at it is that Ben Johnson in year one is already building a very positive culture. He's already helping Caleb Williams develop into the quarterback that we all thought he could be when we drafted him number 1 overall in the 2024 NFL draft. So even though we are still looking at baby steps, the Chicago Bears through the first 10 weeks of the season have been very successful. And now going into the gauntlet of their schedule where they still play Green Bay twice, they play Minnesota, they play the Detroit Lions at the end of the season, the Eagles, the 49ers. The Chicago Bears fans and Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears organization are feeling pretty good about themselves just of how good they have started in this first half of the season, sitting at 6-3 and currently sixth in the NFC playoff picture. But Bears fans, there is a major shift in terms of how people are now talking about the Chicago Bears. The same people that didn't have high expectations of the Chicago Bears, guys like Colin Cowherd or maybe Dan Orlowski prior to the season saying, you know what, Caleb Williams is not the guy. The Chicago Bears are only going to win 4 to 6 games this season. Now the tune has really changed amongst how these analysts are talking about not only about Caleb Williams, but the Chicago Bears. Of course, when you look at guys like Colin Cowherd, he said things that I think Caleb Williams is a hit for the Chicago Bears. And we know that he's a guy that likes to flip back and forth basically every single week when he's talking about the Chicago Bears and or Caleb Williams. But ever since the Chicago Bears have continued their winning streak, and now they're sitting at 6-3. And ever since that Caleb Williams has started heating up, he has 4 game-winning drives in this season alone. Guys like Colin Cowherd's tune has really changed. Then you have some guys saying out there that Caleb Williams should be in the conversation for best quarterback in that division. This came from a guy like Chris Canty that's also been very candid about the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams as well. But the tune is definitely starting to change about the Chicago Bears, and it's all due to the fact of how well Caleb Williams is playing. Once again, I want to echo what I just said earlier in today's episode of Keek on the Mic. Everything that we thought Caleb Williams could be when we drafted him number 1 overall in the 2024 NFL Draft is coming to life because of Bears head coach Ben Johnson. We all knew that Caleb Williams had elite arm talent, elite sack avoidance, elite playmaking, the elite clutch gene. But Caleb Williams just needed the proper mentor, the proper coach to be behind him to help him develop the right way. And that's exactly what the Chicago Bears got in Ben Johnson. It is a beautiful marriage. And now Caleb Williams is really coming to life. And I've always said this, that winning is the cure of all. And I've talked to my dad so many times about the Chicago Bears and that losing is contagious. And that's what the Chicago Bears did for years and years and years with John Fox, Matt Nagy, Matt Eberflus. They found different ways to lose. Now with Ben Johnson in their very first season, in his very first season as the Bears head coach, this Chicago Bears team and this new culture that Ben Johnson has instilled here in Chicago, now they are finding different ways to win. They have one ugly. They have one pretty. They are finding different ways to win every single week. And now Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson are starting to uptick a little bit, and they're getting better every single week. So now where do we go from here, Bears fans? Because it's starting to shift, right? You think about this week in Minnesota. Now Fox's A team, led by Tom Brady, is heading to Minnesota to call this Bears versus Vikings game. That was a switch from the NFL prior to this week. So the NFL is starting to take notice about the Chicago Bears. And the way that Caleb Williams playing right now, we could probably say that he is probably a top 12 to 15 NFL quarterback right now. But now Caleb Williams has the opportunity to become a star into a superstar. And it starts with these final 8 games of the NFL season. Yes, the Chicago Bears are 6-3. Yes, the Chicago Bears are 6th in the NFC playoff picture. But this is the time for Ben Johnson, the Chicago Bears, and Caleb Williams to finally put the haters to rest for good. Because these are the haters that are currently saying, well, the Chicago Bears haven't played anybody. So now, if we continue to beat these teams, like we beat the Green Bay Packers, we beat Minnesota, if we somehow compete and beat the Philadelphia Eagles, right? If we beat the Detroit Lions, if we beat the 49ers on Sunday Night Football, that is how you shut the haters up. And this shift that you are starting to see about the Chicago Bears and how people are talking about Caleb Williams will continue to be positive, and there will be no more negative talk about the Chicago Bears. There will be no more negative talk when you're talking about Caleb Williams, and it's because the way that he is playing. So this is Caleb Williams' opportunity, Bears fans, to go in here in these next 8-game stretch and really shut the haters up. So Bears fans, I just wanted to come on here really quick and just really stress on how the narrative is starting to change on the Chicago Bears. And I'll personally say this, Bears fans, that I feel that the NFL is a better place when the Chicago Bears are good. I think the NFL has been waiting for the Chicago Bears to get out of their own way, to finally get the quarterback position right, and just figure things out within this organization, because I think they understand that the NFL, they make more money when the Chicago Bears are a better football team. So right now, the Chicago Bears are 6th in the NFC playoff picture. They're currently tied for 1st in the NFC North. And now you're looking at these next 8 games, and yes, you're playing Green Bay twice. Yes, you are playing the Vikings and Lions. Yes, you're playing the San Francisco 49ers. But how I look at it is any given Sunday, and as long as we have Ben Johnson as our head coach, and as long as we have Caleb Williams playing at this high level, and we know that he has ice in his vein, he comes up clutch every single time it's in a close matchup, I'm going to take the Chicago Bears all the way to, really make this playoff push and solidify their status as true NFC contenders. So I'm excited to see these next 8 games for Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson and how they stack up against these better NFC opponents. But how I look at it, Bears fans, is any given Sunday, the Chicago Bears can beat any opponent in the National Football League. So Bears fans, let me know down below in the comment section on what you think the Chicago Bears will do in these final remaining games of the NFL season. Do you think they have any chance at all to beat some of these top NFC opponents? Let me know down below in the comment section. But as always, Bears fans, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears that you know. But other than that, be back for our all new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
Ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.